Hello and welcome back. We're finally here, the last book in the Shatter series. Today we are talking about Imagine Me and how the series came to an end. So let's get into it. It starts out 2 days after the land, or should I say, crash there. Alice is still getting some memories back here and there whilst everyone else is fully recovered on all their memories. One memory she gets back is how her mom had talked to her about the white birds she had loved as a kid and Juliet always used to dream about, and this memory was from the day she was handed off to Anderson. But the weirdest thing isn't even that she's the only one without all her memories, or how her dream about the white birds is somehow connected to her mom, but it's that she somehow is starting to forget something. And it's when Emily starts mind-linking her that she ends up outside screaming, but she doesn't know how she will end the doctor. Over to Kenji picking over the last novel ended, Nazir goes to find the others and he tries to make it to them. But then all of a sudden he's thrown away and he can hear Emmeline in his head and he can also feel her pain. And when he all of a sudden comes to, he realizes that whilst in his head she had tried to kill him so that she could die with him, and yet you're desperate to pace out, but why do you want to drag someone else with this way? And when he finally managed to make it to them, he's shaking and screaming in a way that's inhumane, and Warner seems to be holding her down and from floating away, which is taking a huge toll on him, and when he notices Kenji, all he can manage to do is to ask for help. They try to get her back but can't manage it on their own, which is when everyone else finally gets there, including Stefan, who picks her up and brings her in without problem. They get inside and everything there seems to be fine and calm, and when he looks at Warner, he's got scratch marks and blood pretty much everywhere. And then Wayne, Ella's head, who has Emmeline in her head. Not making much sense at all, but moral of the story, she wants to peace out of this world, and she doesn't care who she brings up with her. But in Kenji's head, no idea what to do with Warner being in a shitty mood, scaring everyone and even making Haida cry. And Nuria's plan right now is to peace out Ella so that Emmeline would peace out with her, but obviously no one else agrees with that. They all try to make a plan as a group, but it's basically just all of them waiting around for her to wake up. But being that just sitting around waiting would risk the other kids, especially James, Kenji tries to get to Warner about his brother and try to convince him that they need an actual plan to save them, but it's entirely useless, being that Warner's out of it, and in his own words, is in hell, where he doesn't care about anyone or anything other than Ella. Ella herself is stuck in her own head with Emily. She has memories with her mom, Anderson and Adam, so yes, Adam was brought into the whole thing as well. Now fast forward 4 days, Kenji is sitting with Brendan, Winston and Ian, and they no longer seem to have any hope in Ella, and so they want to make an actual plan and go after James and Adam. Mostly Ian though, who don't really see her as a friend, mad that she at the beginning had not really put any effort into the friendship. And how when they had been kidnapped and tortured by Anderson, instead of getting information out of Warner so that they could save them, she was falling in love with him. And that's when Warner walks in, has a quick talk with the girls and leaves. But a bit later, Nazir comes and tells Kenji that they need to go because there's been a lot of update. And when they're talking, he realizes that he's drunk. Turns out Winston had been pouring whiskey in his tea. Now Anna's woken up because it seems like Emmeline was sitting in her head and started taking as little space as possible, but despite having woken up, she seems a bit odd. So the girls want to do some more tests on her, but unfortunately, it seems like the re-establishment has found them, and now they're under attack by Anderson and a bunch of soldiers. Long battle short, they mostly manage to fight them off, and a lot of people are obviously getting hurt or dead. They get James back, who Anderson had brought him as a bargaining chip. Warner offers himself up as a Malaysian body so that they can leave her alone, with Shocker and Anderson decline. He shows Nadir and Kenji, whose abilities he knows Warner had used to make Ella invisible, and sends his soldiers after, so one stabs him and goes up. But later it doesn't seem like he was able to stop them because now Ella's tied down in a cage back in Oceania and they're all waiting for her to wake up so that they can start the trance. But when the rest of them leaves and it's just her and Anderson, he stabs her leg to get a reaction out of her because he knew she was awake and starts the transfer. So fast forward 2 days with the others, they have been burying a bunch of people. Nadir still hasn't woken up. As for Warner, he's now seen as a hero because he has managed to finish the fight, as he figured out that someone on Anderson's team could multiply and use his own powers. And using his own powers, he managed to fight them off. But not before they were able to get Ella, Haida and Stefan. and one is again mentally comatose for having lost Ella. And on top of that, Candy's relationship with Cassidy seems to be a bit teenage. But while talking to Brendan and Winston, who are by the way together now, and Ian, they all want him to go over and talk some sense into Warner. But before he can get up, Ollie comes over to tell him that James is awake and wants to see him. Now getting to Ella, she goes by Juliet again, but now she lives in a reality where she's one of Anderson's soldiers. She doesn't remember anyone. Getting back to Kenji, he walks in and sees Bonnie talking to James, which makes him happy seeing him care for James. But when he goes to them, Bonnie tells him that he's there to get information, obviously, out of him, which obviously disappoints him. But James tells him that Adam, the useless moron that he is, had betrayed them and chosen to stay with Anderson, and offered up his powers in exchange for James's safety, and now they're both full set on heading over to Oceana and get her back. Getting back to Juliet and Anderson, he's constantly testing her loyalty to make sure she's not deceiving them again. He takes her to Adam, who's unconscious and connected to a bunch of different machines, but she doesn't really feel anything towards him. And to further test her, he asks her to kill someone, which she does without any hint of hesitation. He also takes her to see Max, who now hates her, but Anderson wants him to fix the attraction problem because she admitted to slightly being attracted to him, which unsettled him in the funniest way. But Max thinks it's better to live with being that it could cause some issues that will set them back. But while talking, he seems to have some glimpses of a memory of Aaron, but doesn't pay it any mind. In the meanwhile, Kenji and Warner are eating the food that Warner's newfound fan base have brought them and have a little chat. But while they're eating, well, Kenji is doing most of the eating, there's a knock and it's another one of Warner's fans there with but she's acting slightly odd. And it turns out that's because she was actually there to kill him, and the so-called food was actually scorpions she was using her powers to control. But Warner, using his own, uses her powers against her and sends the scorpions back at her, and she tells them that she was there to kill him, that some of them there had only seen the brutal side of Warner and not have take down the establishment, but when she all of a sudden brings out a gun to shoot him, Kenji quickly shoots and kills her first. As for Juliet, she's waiting outside Max's office, waiting for Anderson. She sees a hologram version of Valentina, but after identifying herself, Juliet felt like it was her responsibility to help her, so Valentina leaves her to where her and the other kids are being held, unconscious in a tube. Valentina refuses she can help them. Anderson walks in and stops her. He also has punishment when another tells her to cut her index finger off and hand it to him. As for Kenji and Warner, they're heading over to Castiel, Nuri and Sam, because Warner knew Castiel is the one who put it in her head to kill him. But when they talked to him, it turns out that he hadn't betrayed them, but were trying to convince her that Warner was nice and harmless, which Warner finds ridiculous. Turns out that instead had given her the idea that Warner would be an easy target. So when Azia walks in, she makes it very clear that they're not going anywhere without her, and they tell the others to talk to James about Adam. After that, he leaves to take a shower before leaving, and Nuri and Sam tell them that they can help them steal a jet. They also tell them that they can only save her if the transfer hasn't happened yet, otherwise they're going to have to kill her as well. Saying that one way or another, Emmeline has to go. And meanwhile, Julius gains some random memories. On the plane ride, Kenji tells Nadira that the two of them had been engaged, which seems to give her an idea, but before she can tell him what she's thinking, they enter Oceana and realize that they know that they're now taking control over the plane manually, which gives them about 40 minutes before landing, but luckily she seems to have a plan. Over to Juliet, who had passed out after cutting off her finger. Right before she wakes up, she hears someone in her head calling her Ella and telling her to listen. But when she wakes up, Max has been able to put her finger back, but everyone's furious at Anderson for how he's constantly screwing up and he's putting them back. So later, when it's just them, for some reason we're humanizing Anderson. But he tells her how he used to love baking and in a different life would maybe have been a baker, and how his mom used to force him to drink bleach. I mean, that's fact, but not more than what he put his own kids through. Also, while they're talking, Max, furious, walks in, mad that he had injected Adam's powers into himself, which apparently is not good at all. But that's when the sirens goes off, and he leaves to take care of it and leaves her with Max. So the plan was to use their invisibility and flying to jump out right before landing, but they got shot with a special gun that shuts off their powers. Though they managed to get them back when Bonnie drops one of Heida's grenades at them, they also decide to split up, where Bonnie and Kenji go looking for Ella, and Nadia goes to try to put Bonnie and Ella as married in their database, so that as a member of the Summers, he can get access to the restricted areas. So for Juliet, after Max 2 leaves and she's gone change, Ibrahim walks in to take her somewhere, and when they get there, she sees smoke and someone's hand slamming against the tank wall. So it seems she's the only one who saw the smoke, because Abraham seems confused when she mentions it, but ignores it and keeps walking until he sees a dead body. So moving back in time earlier, when Kenji and Warner just gotten there, they are forced to move around through the vent because of the heatwave cameras, and for Juliet, after they found the body, it seems to be a bit chaotic, but Abraham goes to do a transfer now, but apparently they can't because it's too soon, and Ashen wants to send her up to her friends, being that will put them off, and also won't really fight her, and while his usage of the word friends confuses her, she hears Kenji in her ear, whispering, which is when Warner drags him back, and is stand back while Anderson is trying to protect her from Ibrahim, who then shoots him. Confident Anderson is the best out of the worst of these people. So from there, Warner kills Ibrahim, and when Anderson kind of starts healing, he tells her to kill them both, and Kenji empties his ammunition on him. So from there, everything kind of moves quickly. Warner focuses on Ellen to get her back somehow, and Nazira, who then shows up, together with Kenji, go to get the other kids. And Juliet, in the fight, despite knowing it was a trap, chases after Aaron into a room, and throughout the fight, she has this weird feeling in her head, and she does manage to remember everything, and coughing up a bunch of blood. The process doesn't make much sense, but it works. As for Kenji and Nazira, he's waiting outside as Lookout while she goes in and gets everyone, and throughout this, the place starts to fall apart, but they manage to shove everyone and get out when Stefan cracks a hole in the wall, and Nazira flags them out. So going back in time a little bit, she and Warner head over to Emmeline, killing everyone in their way, and there Max shows up, who gets killed by Emmeline, before she asks Ella to kill her and destroy the place, which she does. Now fast forward 2 weeks, and it's their wedding day, and they're trying to find clothes, because Kenji had ruined them the day prior by destroying Alia and Winston's studio without being making and keeping them. And Kenji had destroyed it as part of all the buildings that were deemed unsafe, not knowing they were using that one. But I guess to a store where they're looking for new clothes and telling them he has good news. Also, it seems that now when it's over, everyone seems so much happier. And that's basically it. Now, moving over to the novella, believe me, it's very shortly, basically everyone ignoring Warner and feeling very alone, and with everyone doing some things behind his back that later, by the end, turns out that they had been turning the place into a neighborhood building houses, and the first one was the one Ella was going to be living in. They have a dog, Kenji's the neighbor, everyone is happy and they're all friends, and they get married by the end. And that's basically this series. Definitely was my favorite series. Rather than worst, but yeah, 6 books done. Anyways, bye.